are have their own like mini school.
Yeah.
But the tricky thing is that like, how does the government like approve?
I think there's guidelines to follow.
Yeah.
Yeah, as
I
long
think
as you
there's
pass
guidelines to
certain
follow.
exams and whatnot,
true.
like
Yeah,
there,
it's true.
it should be all right.
Yeah.
And at least you know what your kids are getting taught, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And it's not some like rando with
Some
some
crap.
like ideology.
Some crap.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something that's not with our like lifestyle, like forcing that like on your kids, and then you have
Yeah.
to battle that when you come home.
But still, shout out to all those that are our
Yo,
Catholic
those-
friends
those
who are
teachers,
like
man.
trying to change
Yeah.
the culture. But
I'm
it
not
is
gonna
a
yeah.
hard culture to
I'm not
change.
gonna say like being a teacher is easy, because it's not. I think
definitely
it's
not.
It's such a noble profession, right?
And it's so important. Like you're influencing these kids for the future. So
Yeah.
yeah. So that's our updates.
I think those are our updates, man.
All right.
Yeah.
So
Shall we?
shall we go
Shall we
to
get
our
right into
first
it?
topic?
Christ the King, Cristo Rey.
Yes, Cristo Rey
Right.
in Mississauga.
Yeah.
But there is also Christ the King at
On Lakeshore.
yes.
Yes.
Oh, actually, fun fact. So when I first came to Canada, I lived in Lakeshore, and that was my
You're
first parish.
kidding? No way.
And I went to Christ the King Elementary School.
That's crazy, dude.
I actually got pneumonia when I was younger because I was that kid who would just wear a t-shirt even in winter. And my parents
your
got
first,
so
like-
mad.
Guy.
They got so mad. And I
Yo,
remember I got
swear-
pneumonia.
I swear you still do that, eh? Like I don't.
I get
don't
hot
see
easily.
You, yeah, I won't see you wearing like a sweater or jacket too frequently.
Well, I do. I overheat.
My
I don't
gosh.
know why. But yeah. But even when I was younger. So it's funny because in Christ the King, I used to play Beyblades.
Hey,
And after like a year they banned it because like kids were like getting hurt
short-lived.
because
Yo,
they were like
things-
the metal ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, you can launch that at someone and they can get hurt for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And I always used to walk home because like I lived like in one of the like not really condos, apartments there.
Apartment buildings close
Yeah,
by.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's very like not lavish life, and that's where when we came here, my sister was born shortly after,
Ah, right on.
so that was really cool.
So she's Canadian born. You are not.
Yes, I was born in the Philippines.
Hey.
Yeah. Actually, cool thing also, we were all lived in Saudi
in the Middle East.
In the Middle East.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I lived in Saudi Arabia from age 1 to 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in Qatar. Like 8 to 18.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
10 years, eh? Yeah, and I was in Bahrain from birth to grade. I was sorry, not grade 6. Age of 6, I think. Yeah,
Okay.
5 or 6.
So
Something like
6 years for you. For you
that.
and I.
Yeah.
Yeah. The reason why we're talking about Christ the King is because 2 weeks ago, at least when we wanted to do the podcast last week, we just celebrated the feast or the solemnity of Christ the King,
Yeah.
right? And who is like the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords,
Straight facts.
the person that we go to in adoration, right? Like when we talk about like we have our own dominion and we have our own kingship,
Yeah.
but we also have our own king that we
Yeah.
follow, right? And so like it was a beautiful like feast for us to just like put things back into perspective.
Yeah.
Like we kind of just sometimes in the busyness of things just live our lives without realizing that there is a king that we in a way ought to follow and ought to obey.
Ought to follow and be ready for, right?
Yeah.
Because I think the gospel reading for that weekend was talking about like the second coming of Jesus Christ, what to look for, what are the signs, right? And I remember that because I was trying to do, or not trying to, but I was running children's liturgy with my buddy Eddie, and these kids are tiny, and I'm like trying to tell them like, yo, the stars are gonna fall, it's gonna be black, the sun's gonna be black, and they're like, huh, what's going on? It was a tough one to break down for kids.
Yeah.
But from it, we were like, yo, we need to prep ourselves, right? And it kind of reminds us like, yo, Advent is coming, and Advent is a time of preparation too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, which we'll get to.
Welcome the King of Kings. And it's good because like it's the feast or it's the Sunday right before Advent starts.
Yeah.
Like Christ the King and then Advent where we're preparing for the King of Kings.
Yeah.
I think that's like, I don't know. The church is smart, so I'm pretty sure that's what they thought.
No,
Like,
I
that's
think so too, man. I would back that.
Yeah. And also, when Andre and I were first regen missionaries for our first year,
Yeah.
we lived at where? Gort?
Yeah, 68 Gort, man.
Hey, shut up.
Now everyone knows.
What's
But yes.
what's your Wi-Fi password?
Jokes. But yes, we lived at 68 Gort, and we would often go to mass at Christ the King.
Nice.
Right? So, Andre, like, how special is that parish for you? Because you, in a way, have gone there for the past 2 or 3 years.
I think, man, I like entered like regen as a little baby, right?
A little baby.
Yeah, a little baby bird, man. And all I had to do, Mama Bird would come and drop the worm like right in my mouth, right? And for me, like that parish, yeah, that was the place. Like we spent many a holy hour there, man.
And the father would just give us the key
Yeah.
because he trusted us enough.
Yo,
Right?
it was the first time.
Yeah.
The first time we went to the church, we went and just like introduced ourselves, me and AJ. And he is this quirky Polish man who I
Yes.
love, like Father Joseph. Shout
Father
out Father Joseph.
Joseph.
And he right away he's like, "You guys are missionaries, okay? So you guys need to pray. Here's a key to the church." And he gave it to
That's
us that day.
amazing. Wow.
First day he met us.
Yeah,
The
man.
first 5 minutes of meeting us, and then he took it back. He's like, "Wait, let me get some forms for you to sign. So come back tomorrow, right?" So
It was wild, bro.
so we came back and we got it. And we had our own key, man. So imagine like your key to church.
crazy.
You can go in
Wow.
and see Jesus whenever you want, man.
Yeah.
Right.
That was very special because I remember in our first couple of months speaking, like we would have long days and that like I would always ask like Andre like do you want to go like after dinner before we sleep, like do you want to go spend some time with Jesus and just do some of our prayers? And like it kind of just started with me and you, and some of our fellow missionary brothers and sisters would come with us, right? I thought that was very beautiful and very special, that it was like an empty church and that our not only did we have one another, but we had like the rest of our teammates like
Yeah.
spending time with Jesus with us,
It's amazing.
like not alone.
Yeah.
And I remember our first 2 months, we both had heavy hearts.
Oh, yo.
Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! It was so bad.
Why?
We,
What was-
like we had it? Just, I don't know. We
Things
just
were
had like
happening?
such like heavy burdens. Like we could
Internal
see-
battle, man.
And
Yeah,
Andre and I
insane.
shared the same room, so we would always after like going to pray, after eating, we would always do everything together, and
Yeah.
we'd always go back to our rooms, and then we would talk. We'd be like, "Yo, so like, how was adoration today?" It's getting a little
Yo, what
bit
was
better.
Jesus saying?
Yeah.
You know?
Oh
What's
my
Jesus
goodness.
saying today, man?
Oh my goodness. Brings me back, bro.
But yo, Christ the King, man, like so special. Actually very recently, man, like that was where I proposed to Lisa,
Ooh.
right? Yeah.
tell us,
Nice.
tell everybody.
So
You
let
heard it
me
here
give you guys
first.
the scoop. It was midweek, right? And that day, that morning, actually the night before, our families had met for the first time. Like my mom and dad flew in from Qatar, right? Her mom and sister were there, and the families met. It went amazing, right? And earlier that day, I had texted her mom. I'm like, "Auntie, can I see you? You know, in the morning on the Wednesday morning."
Yeah.
And I'm like, at the end, like when we're leaving dinner, I'm like expecting Auntie to go, "See you tomorrow, Andre." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, this is supposed to be a secret. Can you just like, you know, keep it down low?" And I was just like waiting for her to do it. I was like cringing. I'm like, "Auntie, please, you know, keep it under control, keep it under control." And you know what? She didn't say anything, right?
Nice.
And so we met up in the morning, right? And it was in a second cup, right? And
Second cup.
yeah, that's where I asked her mom. I brought the ring and everything, and I asked her mom. I'm like, "You know what, Auntie? These are my intentions. I'm asking for your blessing because I want to spend the rest of my life with your daughter. I want to get her to heaven together. I want to journey to heaven together, like with her, right?" And it's crazy, man. You know, when you're having that moment and you don't know, because you don't know what she'll say, right? Like I knew we had like a really solid relationship, but this is like, you know, asking mom for her daughter's hand in marriage, her eldest daughter, right?
Yeah.
First daughter, right? So like, and like her saying yes, and like, you know, I can hear her voice like cracking up like through it. Like I'm starting, my eyes are starting to water. You know, she changes the subject, so you know that we don't both cry and whatnot. And
Yeah.
In public.
so yo, that day, that same day, I call Lisa and I'm like, "Hey, I'm picking you up after work, right? So I was supposed to pick her up from the mission house.
Yes, I remember.
Right? Yeah, I called AJ up before to give him the scoop.
And I was in adoration. I was in adoration. He told
Okay.
me right before he was going to tell her, he was like, AJ, it's happening right now. And I was like, yo, I'm in adoration right now. Yo, I'm going to go back in. And yo, I will pray for you, bro.
My guy, man. So I got, the ring they gave me, right? Like the engagement ring. It came in this big box. Like, not because the ring is any fancy thing, but it came in this massive box.
Sure.
So she calls me up and she's like, you know what? I'm going to be late. They'll just drop me at the church. I'll meet you at the church, right? Because I told her that's where I'm at. And so I'm like, perfect. So what I did, I went to the church early and I hid the ring in the back pew.
Nice.
Right? Because none of the, for some reason at Christ the King, even though we have the key, all the lights were off, man. The light box was closed, and only in the back, right, at the St. Anthony of Padua statue.
Yes,
like,
yes.
So I put the ring there. Like, Lisa comes in, we go to the front, we like pray. She's telling me about her day, complaining about some things. I'm like, yo, not now. Like, let's talk to Jesus for a little bit, all right? Chill.
Oh, man.
And so we go back to the back of the church. We're about to like leave. I even open the front door, and then I'm like, you know what? Like, maybe Lisa, you should say the St. Anthony of Padua prayer, right? For families. Pray for our future family and our family right now.
Cute.
So she sits down on this one kneeler pew and starts saying this prayer out, right? And while she's doing that, I go to the back pew and I pull out the ring and I get on one knee. And she told me this after. While she was at the end of that prayer, she was like praying, Jesus, I've been waiting so long to be engaged. Like, how am I waiting so long? So when she like gets up from the pew and turns around, my future wife, like, she is witty, she is smart, she is articulate, she always has something to say, always on her game. This is the first time I seen her speechless, man. Like, speechless, right? And then she opens, and I'm like, okay, I shouldn't say anything. She's deer in the headlights, right?
Yeah.
And then she finally says, she's like, you did it. I'm like, and that's when, I asked her, right? And you know what? I want to share this one thing that I asked her. I felt like, compelled by the Holy Spirit in that moment. Like, when I asked her to marry her, I looked her dead in her eyes and I told her, Lisa, you will not fulfill me, nor will I fulfill you. Only the Father can do that. You know what? And it's in that moment, my brothers, I want to say this to all my brothers, when you are down on one knee, even though weeks before she told me she would say yes, it's like you are bearing your soul. You are giving everything in that moment. Ooh. It's like you're giving your heart, and more than that, like everything, and they can say yes or no. And in that moment, my heart has never beat so fast in my life, man. But her saying yes was one of the sweetest things I've ever heard in my life, man. But yeah, Christ the King, man, and that church means everything to me. Actually, that's the church we're going to get married at.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, man. Yo, all of us will be at the wedding.
Yeah,
yes.
man.
Yeah,
I'll be by your
suited
side.
and booted. Like Ken was telling me the other day, he was going to
show
some ankle.
Yeah,
Immodest, bro. Immodest.
Hey.
Immodest, man. Scandalous. Yeah. Oh, man. And yo, Andre called me after, and I was like so happy, man. I was so happy for this guy. That was
that's beautiful, man.
Such a great, and I was waiting for it too, right? I was like, when is this guy? Oh, and also, like, do you want to share with like some of our viewers, like, how long have you been planning this in a way?
Yo, I wanted to do this probably in June or July, right?
And what stopped you?
Yo, work. A lot of things, right? Like, I was waiting, you know what? I was waiting for the perfect situation, right?
Yeah.
And you know what? There is no perfect situation.
Amen.
when God calls you and He has provided for you, you can show your trust and faith in Him, right? And that's what I did. And before I even asked her mom, even asking my parents, asking her hand for marriage, I asked the Father first. Yeah. Right? You asked the Father, I had His blessing. So in a way, I had nothing to fear. Once I had His blessing, it was like, let's do this, man. Let's do this.
Amen. Wow. Thanks for sharing, Andre. And I think like what's very beautiful, very affirming from my journey with you is that journey kind of started at that church with you and Lisa. Because I remember us talking like maybe like after I like left Regen, that we were like, yeah, like this is the woman I want to marry. Right? Isn't that like what you were feeling, what you were praying earlier on?
Brother, 2016 December, when I met my parents, I told them I found the woman I'm gonna marry. And they, they're like, does she know yet? I'm like, no, she doesn't know. We're on a dating fast, yo. But you know what? This is the one.